pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Dallas Cowboys select Tyler Booker, guard, Alabama.
The Dallas Cowboys didn't make the flashy pick, they made the necessary one. With Tyler Booker, they didn't just draft a guard, they sent a message that the trenches matter again in Dallas. Schottenheimer has been preaching relentlessly in the game being won up front. This is about violence at the line of scrimmage, reclaiming control and protecting your franchise quarterback. And that starts with Booker, but it doesn't end there. This video will break down and get a live outlook of the 2025-2026 offensive line season and how each player fits the new philosophy and why the Cowboys might have finally found their identity again and can have the biggest turnaround in all the position groups for the Dallas Cowboys. Let's start with the pick. Tyler Booker, a guard from Alabama, drafted 12th overall, plays with a type of edge that the Cowboys have missed since the peak Zach Martin days. With an aging quarterback that has had multiple injuries with limited mobility, shoring up the middle is now more important than ever. And also with the key additions that the Cowboys have made of a deep threat receiver, this will be especially needed for those long developing plays with George Pickens. And in the run game, Booker excels in gap schemes, pulling combo blocks. He doesn't survive contact, he welcomes it. He's the type of lineman that imposes his will for 4 quarters. This pick was all about attitude, and the Cowboys knew exactly what they were doing and what they were getting. A tone setter. And the moment that told us everything about the pick wasn't just a highlight film, it was the phone call that followed the pick between Tyler Booker and Klayton Adams. When Tyler Booker picked up the phone, Klayton Adams and the offensive line coach didn't give him a congratulations speech. They gave him mission statements.
Man, I want you to talk to our offensive coordinator.
Yes, sir.
That good Cowboy, baby.
Yes, sir.
Look, what's up, man?
What's going on?
Congratulations, brother.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm so excited.
I am so freaking fired up that you're coming, man. How about them Cowboys?
How about them Cowboys? How about them Cowboys?
Let's go. Let's move the freaking line of scrimmage now, huh?
Let's do it.
We're going to move people off the line of scrimmage. That simple phrase defines everything Adams wants to do with his unit. Become a physically dominant, mentally tough, finishing through the whistle group. The Cowboys haven't had this identity in many years, but with this pick and that call, that made it clear. That's changing. That mentality is not just Booker's. It's something that's coming from up top. The Cowboys didn't just draft a player, they're building a philosophy, and it starts with their new coaches in the trenches. On draft night, Klayton Adams and Connor Riley pulled back the curtain on what they're building.
You got to do whatever you can to win the football game, but creating explosives in the run game is a recipe for creating explosives in the pass game. And hopefully the hope is that by being able to move the line of scrimmage, you're able to protect differently than just having to drop back all the time. Because I know one thing is it's a heck of a lot easier to block these D linemen when they don't know it's a pass.
Right.
The other part of it, and I truly believe this, is that when somebody can impose their will on you in the run game, it's a disease for the entire team. And it affects everybody in a negative way. And conversely, it affects your team in a positive way. It's like, all right, we're going to go out on this drive and it's going to be bang, 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 and then boom, over the top. Or, maybe you did that on the last drive and you come out with a play action that hits a deep crosser or something like that. I just think it's a recipe for disaster if you can't run it and they can run it on you.
Adams put it bluntly, the run game is a disease. It eats away at your enemy and empowers your team. The quote says it all. The Cowboys want to wear teams down, break them down mentally, physically dominate the line of scrimmage. Connor Riley echoed this, emphasizing technique, stacking accountability, and trust. These two aren't just schemers, they're culture guys. And for the first time in years, Dallas has a clear identity on the offensive line rooted in toughness and precision. It's the kind of system that doesn't just set up the run, it breaks the defense's will. Now, let's compare that to what we saw in 2024. A unit with no identity, no rhythm, and no toughness. Let's rewind for a second to just see how far these guys can climb the ladder.
Hey, twin, this shit hard right here. Just made this shit.
Last season, the Cowboys' offensive line was disjointed. Communication failed against stunts and blitz packages, and there was no sense of cohesion. Even Dak Prescott looked rattled behind the line. They lacked direction, they lacked fire, but most of all, they lacked identity. That's what this coaching overhaul and personnel shift aims to fix. But 2024 is in the past, and this group has a real chance to flip the narrative. It starts with accountability, better coaching, and a real plan. So let's break down each lineman and how they can redeem themselves in 2025. Cooper Beebe. Cooper Beebe was thrown in the fire as a rookie, making a full-time move from guard to center, one of the most mentally demanding shifts on the offensive line. Early in the year, he struggled. Teams attacked him with stunts, overload A-gap, and forced him to make protection calls at the NFL speed. It wasn't pretty. It got to a point where people started to question whether if he should make the move back to guard. But he adjusted. By mid-season, his confidence grew. His communication got sharper. His leverage improved. He earned the respect of defensive coordinators, and they stopped targeting him with complex looks. Now he's stronger, smarter, more confident, and in year 2, especially after a year of training and improving, is in no doubt he becomes the anchor. If Beebe takes another leap, this line has a real shot at dominance. Tyler Smith, the new alpha. Zach Martin is gone, and the torch has been passed. Tyler Smith is now the leader of the Dallas Cowboys offensive line. He was their most consistent offensive lineman in 2024, but didn't take the leap as many expected. And that wasn't his fault. Under Mike Solari and a stale offensive identity, his physical tools were underutilized. Also, Mike McCarthy laid-back practice schedule didn't help either. Now with Klayton Adams coaching him, the gloves are off. Smith thrives in a physical scheme. He plays with torque, grip strength, and attitude. With now an overemphasis onto developing offensive linemen, this is his chance to put the league on notice and become the premier guard of the NFL. Terence Steele, rebuilding the road grader. 2024 was a tough year for Terence Steele. Post ACL, his technique regressed. His pass sets were flat and tended to overset his opponent a lot. His punch timing was late, and mentally, he wasn't fully back. But here's the good news. Steele is healthy, he has a better health inside, and the Cowboys' new scheme fits him perfectly. With more pulling and more power looks and less drop back, downhill run blocker. If used right, Steele can become a massive piece in restoring the edge this line used to have. We tend to forget years ago, Steele was a very underrated top right tackle in the league. Now there's one name that we save for last, and it's not because he's the least important, but in fact, he's actually the most important. If the Cowboys want this rebuild to work, it comes all the way down to this one wild card, Tyler Guyton. Tyler Guyton's rookie season was trial by fire. From week 1, he was thrown against some of the NFL's premier edge rushers, and for a few weeks, he held his own. But eventually, the pressure got to him, and so did the coaching staff. By mid-season, Guyton was benched, not due to injury, but because the staff, coaching for their jobs, didn't trust him. Then came the rumors, reports of immaturity, questions about his preparation. Even Duke Manyweather, the Cowboys' longtime offensive line trainer of the offseason, publicly voiced concerns about Guyton's approach and mindset. But things may be turning. Brian Schottenheimer recently said Guyton has been in the weight room non-stop. That's the first step. But if Guyton locks in physically and mentally, his upside is massive. He has rare athleticism and length, and he lacks the power. But even in all these unknowns, there is one constant, one presence that will tie all of this together. Tyler Booker is the one who makes it all make sense. He brings toughness, accountability, and confidence. With him at right guard, Beebe can communicate more freely. Smith gets to attack and lead these guys in becoming absolute excavators in the middle for the strongest interior in the league. Steele gets a tone setter beside him, and Klayton gets a young leader that can lead him. This offseason wasn't about flash, it was about identity. And if this finally clicks, it will be because Booker will be the pathway to a greater standard. Make sure to like and subscribe the video. Comment your thoughts down below. I love you, Cowboy Nation. Until next time. Peace.